The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, he'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
Welcome back to Harrogate again, everybody. Would you just look at this amazing view behind me right here? You know, when the sun gets up in parts of Yorkshire, it doesn't half look beautiful. And here you get a magnificent view of the Otley Chevin in the distance. Isn't it fantastic? Absolutely amazing. Now, this village is famous for a few things. It's been on the telly a couple of times. This is Leathley. Leathley, slope clearing. Continuing through the hamlets and villages within the former Forest of Knaresborough, today we're in the second parish to have a name ending in the suffix Lee. This time we're in Leathley, close to the border between West and North Yorkshire, sited about 1 mile to the north of Otley. Today we're in the slope clearing, according to its etymology, although one has to assume the forest has had a few of those. Unlike Castley yesterday, Leathley is famous for a few things. Fans of the soap opera Emmerdale will likely know this one for a start. Before the set of Emmerdale moved into the grounds of Harewood House, Leathley was the village used to depict both it and the farm before ITV dropped the latter from its name. Because of its connection to the TV, you will find even now fans of the soap making a pilgrimage to the village to see where it all used to be filmed. Not me though, I don't watch TV, but then again, I'm here for other reasons anyway. So what else can I tell you about Leathley? Well, the B6161 runs through the village, connecting it with Killinghall in the north and Poole in Wharfdale in the south. At one time, there was a turnpike which crossed these lands and we'll be travelling on it. We'll also be discussing Riffa Wood, an ancient patch of trees on the eastern boundary. Leathley Parish also includes a pub, a village hall, a farm shop and a cafe, and also a small chapel. Complementing the lot is the massive Leathley Hall, which will tie this episode together nicely. So, Emmerdale fans, are you ready for a trip down memory lane? Let's go. To get to Leathley village, we've first got to cover a lot of ground to its south and east. After leaving Castley, we're heading up the A658 to catch 3 landmarks: a wood, a pub and a farm shop and cafe. Whilst Leathley and Castley are separate parishes, the two have histories that interconnect. The high ground in the northern part of Castley was called Castley Moor and would presumably have been common land in medieval times. A map from 1775 shows a road once passed over the moor and through a clump of trees, which we know today as Riffa Wood. It was referred to as Kirkwood on that map though. The track was paved and pack horses would have used it en route from Otley to Knaresborough, transporting corn, linen and other goods to and from markets. The lane was widened and drained in the mid-18th century to accommodate carriages. It's now a bridleway and it ends in Hewby. There's no trace of its predecessor in the surrounding fields, and I doubt any farmers would admit to its existence in all honesty. Given it would have been used a lot by travellers 300 years ago, Riffa Wood would have been known to many folks. They would likely have encountered Edmund Bog and his friends on their travels. Bog was known to the locals as Toad Chief. He often wore war paint, feathered headdresses and an Indian robe. If you saw a guy in the wood like that these days, you'd probably call the police, wouldn't you? Anyway, it was in Riffa Wood where Bog held powwows. If you don't know, a powwow is a celebration of American Indian culture in which people from diverse indigenous nations gather to dance, sing and honour the traditions of their ancestors. A carved red Indian stone can still be found in Riffa Wood today. If that's not your thing, no matter, Riffa Wood is also a really good place to see a cracking display of bluebells in the springtime. Close to Riffa Wood is the Hunter's Inn. This is ideally placed for folks travelling along the modern trade routes around here, and I'm sure they do well business-wise. The Hunters Inn used to be a popular bikers hangout at one time, but I've no idea if it still is. Next door to the pub is the Leathley Farm Shop and Cafe. The farm shop, like so many others these days, appears to have very little to do with farms, but it still stocks and serves fresh produce from local independent suppliers, and it's open 7 days a week. The cafe gained new owners in 2021 after the previous ones closed it down, thanks to the tight restrictions of the COVID pandemic. Everything here is sold as a takeaway or eat-in. Although situated on the main Bradford to Harrogate road, the cafe is surrounded by farmland on all sides. Next door is a dairy farm, where sheep are also kept. Now we're making for Leathley Village. If this had been a few centuries ago, we would have to pay to do so. At this crossroads was Leathley Toll Bar. It was a toll gate that collected fees from travellers. The former tollkeeper's house further up this road is now known as Leathley Lodge. The last tollkeeper was Susie Horner. The Leathley Turnpike was inaugurated in 1816. The road at that time was considered barely passable in bad weather. The route originally ran via Poole, Leathley, Beckwithshaw and Killinghall. In 1818 it was officially known as the Leathley Turnpike, thanks to its route. After serving its purpose on the turnpike, the toll bar itself was converted into a police station before eventually being demolished in 1910. Okay, a lot of running around there, all the way along to Riffa Wood and then up through the Leathley Turnpike. We finally got into Leathley Village. Now, there's a bit of a problem with parking in this place because all the roads are very narrow, tight little things. You can't really park anywhere, apart from in this kind of little car park in front of the village hall and in front of the church, which is where I've decided to put the car temporarily. I'm not going to be here very long, so yeah. Very, very easy village to walk around, this one. Nice, neat little circle. We're going to start with the church, which is here, dead opposite this car park. Well, let's go. Now we're in Leathley Village, and there are 3 main landmarks on this walk. First up, we have the church, which sits to the west of the main village cluster on a hill. Dedicated to St Oswald, this is named after the King of Northumberland, who promoted Christianity in the area in the 600s. As such, the church itself has a long history. As Leathley's first religious building, this was erected in around 1100 AD. Much of it remains in situ, although it was enlarged and modified some years later. The first such modification came in 1472 when the north and south aisles were added. Inside you'll find symbols of the Percy family, including carved pillars and a plaque commemorating a member of the Fawkes family. The latter records his death, a harrowing tale of how he died after going down with HMS Victoria in 1893 during naval exercises off the coast of Tripoli. The church also contains some furniture that has Robert Mousey Thompson's famous mice carved into it. Leathley Village Hall exists primarily for the benefit of the local residents, but it is available to hire for the general public too. The facilities, which include a stage and a well-equipped kitchen and a recently refurbished toilet extension, make it an excellent venue for pretty much anything. Established in 1922 as the Leathley Parish Room, this village hall is located on the opposite side of the road to the church, in picturesque surroundings on the edge of the village green. The rooms are used for a wide range of events, but perhaps the best known would be the Teas on the Green. They take place to raise funds for the church and the Women's Institute, together with occasional Friday suppers to raise money for the parish room itself. Farnley Estates WI, the Young Farmers, the Parochial Church Council and Lower Washburn Parish Council also convene regularly here throughout the year. Now here's a section on Leathley Hall. In the reign of Edward the Confessor, Leathley consisted of two manors, one owned by Archill and the other owned by Ulchill. After the Norman conquest, the manors were taken over by William de Percy and Giselbert Tyson respectively. Leathley Hall, built in the 17th and 18th centuries from coursed gritstone, became the main manor house until it was sold to the Fawkes family in the 18th century. Previously it had been owned by Robert Hitch, another former lord of the manor. In 1718, John Warburton recorded that Robert Hitch added a new south front, an east wing, outhouses, offices, gardens and other improvements to the hall. For a time, rectors of St Oswald's Church lived there too. One such person was Askew Hawksworth, rector of Leathley from 1816 until 1826. So it's a fairly simple loop, this, to walk around Leathley. It's not the biggest village in the world. Once you get sort of beyond the village hall and that building there, which you've just seen, that's the old rectory, you're then heading out into the countryside. There is one more building, though, that I am interested in here, and it's a very small thing, which is marked on the map as an old chapel, and it's over there. You might just be able to see it there. Even if you can't, though, it doesn't matter, because we're about to get much closer to it. The only other landmark of note in Leathley is this small chapel. This was a Methodist chapel, but it ceased to be used in that capacity some time ago. I have no idea if this was Wesleyan, primitive or otherwise. I couldn't pin that much down. However, apparently this is now the offices of something called the Cultural Trust, whatever that may be. I'm not totally sure if that's right though, because on closer inspection of this building, it appeared to be empty. All that remains is to complete the circuit of the village. It's all residential, but of course we've yet to discuss the village's history in any detail, and perhaps its biggest claim to fame too. Let's do that as we walk. Leathley is located in something called the Washburn Valley, named after a river which we'll see a few times over the next couple of days. The Washburn Valley was the canvas for the famous landscape painter J.M.W. Turner, and he will have known this area well. The name Leathley originates from the Old English meaning slope clearing, referring to the rural nature of that very landscape. Before the Industrial Revolution, Leathley Parish was focused on the agricultural industry, with agriculture accounting for over 73% of employment of males aged over 20 in 1831. In 1881, occupation figures again show that agriculture was the parish's main occupation, with around 34% of all industry relating to it. However, by 2011, only 14% of workers in Leathley relied on it for an income, with industries such as finance and education becoming major employers in the area. The downturn in farming activity was probably one reason why the producers of the TV soap Emmerdale decided to leave Leathley behind. Leathley was the setting for much of the filming of the original Emmerdale farm. You know, the version before the TV bosses dropped the farm part of its name. It has since relocated its set to Harewood House, and if you want to know more about that, you need the Allwoodley episode in my Leeds series. Whilst Leathley was undoubtedly important to the producers, the farm itself wasn't actually in the village. That was Lindley Farm instead. It was owned by the farmer Arthur Peel, and in 1993, when he retired, it was no longer used for filming. As any Emmerdale fan will know, the producers wrote their departure from the farm into the storyline. Emmerdale's land was diagnosed as suffering from subsidence due to the opening up of old mine shafts. And I've made it back to the beginning just as the church bells are chiming. That's quite nice, isn't it? Now, to finish this episode off, I've got a card on the notice board like I always do. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I ran out of cards, so I bought some new ones. And this, here in Leathley, will be the first time that I've used the new ones. And they are slightly different to the old ones, as you can see. There you go. They still say the same message, just laid out a bit differently. Easier to read, I think. So, let's christen this board with one of these new TVI cards, shall we? There we go. Leathley is done. And that's that for Leathley. Tomorrow, keeping the Fawkes family and JMW Turner in mind, we're off to find another massive haul which was linked to them both. Get ready for another Emmerdale Connection as well. We haven't finished with it yet. Even in a fictional soap opera, children need somewhere to go to school. See you later. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.